find your lack of faith disturbing.
Gotcha!
SmashMouth Footballers. Introducing Nick Tate.
I want to be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain.
Joe Caldero.
Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints.
Chad Young.
Fame, a disease, a plague, we all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name, all our insecurities are on display.
SmashMouth Footballers.
Hey, welcome to SmashMouth Footballers. I'm Nick Tate.
Joe Caldero.
I'm Chad.
And guys, welcome in. Today we got a great episode for you. We're going to be going over the top 25 running backs, Part 1. So we're going to be giving you the running backs from number 25 up to number 16. And to start it off, Joe?
Number 25, consensus number 25, Tyrone Tracy Jr., rookie running back for the New York Giants. He did great to me. And then his stats show 17 games, 192 attempts, 839 yards, which seems a little low, 4.4 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns, 38 receptions, 284 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown, and what bit him was his 2 fumbles. He didn't miss any games, but he was pulled twice because of his fumbles, and Singletary got a little more time. He might have got closer to that 1,000 yards if he didn't have the fumble issues and the running issues because of the bad quarterback play and stuff like that. In Purdue, he was a hammer. He was a bowling ball, and I think next year he's going to get back to that if they get the right quarterback in town.
What was his best game?
I don't necessarily know what his best game was.
The problem, well, this is the deal. Like, it's so hard to fantasy wise. He carried you, did he not?
He did. I drafted him in the draft because I get 6 running backs.
Yep.
And when I lost some players, when I lost Pacheco, he carried me through. When I lost CMC in another league, Jordan Mason carried me through on that one. But I also had Tyrone Tracy too. I had a bunch of fill-in running backs.
What I remember about Tyrone Tracy this season is that I thought going in the draft, Devin Singletary was going to get all these carries, and in the first month, he really was non-existent. I thought,
right.
And Singletary for some reason it was the injury. He got hurt. They gave fed to Tyrone Tracy, and we said it throughout the year. He runs the ball hard. He had a nose for getting in the end zone. It was hard going into there,
right?
Because the Daniel Jones drama, ridiculous.
They didn't know which other backup quarterback they were going to go with.
They just let Saquon Barkley walk out the building. So whenever this poor kid had a pretty good year, but that seemed to me the distractions were more than anything.
Yeah, and he had a lot put on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Nick, you asked me about his best game. It was Week 8 against the Steelers, I believe. 145 yards against and that showed a lot to everybody. That's a hard defense to run on, and he got 145 yards on it.
He got 145 yards on 20 carries. Got him a touchdown.
Yep.
He received the ball twice for about 3 yards. Or no, he had 3 targets, 2 receptions for 5 yards. But, I mean, he came in clutch for him when they needed it. Well, I never thought Singletary was going to be the guy anyway.
No, Singletary's a receiving back. He's a third down back.
Brian Dable loved him in Buffalo, which is why I thought it was going to become something.
Right.
And he got hurt, and of course he got limited use that first month. And I think they were pleasantly surprised by the 38 catches he had. And you're right. He fumbled the ball 4 times. He lost 2 of them. That's going to get you off the field.
So, running hard will get you on the field, and that's what he did compared to Singletary's a smaller guy. He can't run like a 227, 230-pound running back.
Yeah. And
he's a big guy.
He was averaging 14 carries over the last 13 games, so he was getting the ball. He had over 1,100 yards scrimmage. You got to think going future that he's going to be the number 1 back.
He is. That job is his.
You don't think they're gonna try to get somebody in the draft?
No, see, they
need other things.
I don't know, because the draft is so deep at running back. Like, we can talk about this. We're going to talk. I mean, this is going to be a theme because there's 5th round running backs that have second, third round grades in this draft.
To me, this draft is heavy on running backs, tight ends, but offensive linemen. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah,
if I was the Giants, I'd go heavy on the trenches, defensive line, offensive line.
Fix your trenches. And I mean, you got some good young pieces over there. He's one of them.
Yes, definitely one.
Malik Neighbors is one of them.
You can build around both those.
Kayvon Thibodeau.
Oh man!
And they went and got. They just signed. Excuse me. You remember last year from Carolina, Brian Burns. They signed Brian Burns. I don't think they need to go. Look, you may go get a piece. You may go get something as a depth piece or something like that. But they need to concentrate on something else. Brian Dable, if he doesn't win this year, he's losing his job.
And I don't know. Brian Dable is a great coach.
Well,
this team is failing him. The team and management is failing him.
Yeah, and there's a lot of injuries.
Yeah, a lot of injuries.
I mean, but we're going to go. He's got to get a quarterback.
Right.
That's the most important thing.
Yep.
All right. So who you got, Chad?
I got a savior, a league winner,
savior.
a savior. Jordan Mason.
Save me.
Jordan Mason came on, and I thought what was amazing was that mash unit they had back there. CMC missed the first 8 games. We knew that was going to happen. All right. And then everybody thought Elijah Wilson. Everybody thought, okay, it's going to be Elijah Wilson's team. He got hurt. All right. And then you have Jordan Mason come on, and you went to that waiver wire. And I think fantasy-wise, in this big year of running backs, is that we found maybe handcuffs are a really good idea again. Because Jordan Mason in those 12 games, 153 attempts, 789 rush yards. He only had 3 touchdowns. Okay, he didn't feed you much right there.
Yeah, he was hurt.
Yeah, I mean he finished on the IR.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the early success he had, the 49ers are going to have to come to a decision, because not only was it just the scheme. I mean, that Shanahan's system, whatever the scheme is, you put anybody back there. Isaac Orendo ran the ball at the end of the year. They're going to have to. He is a restricted free agent, right?
Right.
So San Francisco is going to have to make a decision, because he's going to go get paid probably. Somebody's going to offer a 5th, 6th round, I'm sure, for him.
You think even with this draft class?
This is why I say this.
Jordan Mason's a proven commodity.
He was second at yards per carry, at 5 yards per carry, only behind Derrick Henry.
Oh, wow.
The
5.2.
dude was breaking tackles. And the reason why I don't think San Francisco is going to re-sign him is because he only had 11 catches, 91 yards. He didn't show he had great hands. Good eye hand. He caught a lot of screens, right?
Right.
But he was never open as far as, you never saw him go out for wheel routes, choice routes, or anything like that.
He reminds me a lot of Pacheco.
That's what I was getting ready to say. If you put Najee in his prime and Pacheco together, this is your guy right here.
Yeah. There's no telling what numbers he would have put up if he not finished on the IR.
Right.
And because he only, I mean,
his 3 out of his first 4 games, he had 100 yards, over 100 yards. So I mean, the guy is absolutely the NFL talent. He's a number 1 running back for whoever gets him. They're going to be glad they got him.
Oh yeah, I mean, he missed 4 games. You know, I mean, and still finished with these yards, and he carried you. Like, if you went and got a San Francisco running back, he carried you. But he, with that 5 yards per carry, like, it's so hard not to give him the ball. You know, it's just sad because San Francisco was a mash unit back there. Do you think they re-sign him?
I think they have to re-sign him because CMC is not the guy no more. They're gonna have to spell him more. He's not gonna be the guy who never comes out of the game anymore. I don't know if Garendo's the guy that could spell him.
I don't think Garendo's the guy.
But see, Jordan Mason is going to be worth a lot more money than Garendo.
See, I think that
it might be a money thing.
That it's going to be a money thing. And whenever he took over that job, what I liked about Jordan Mason was he said, "I am going to be the best running back on this team."
And he was.
And he said it. Like he went to go get Christian McCaffrey's job. He was hungry, and he said going in, he knows. He knows what he did. He knows his worth going into 2025. And if he becomes a starting running back, he wants to get paid, and he wants to be a starting running back. He is hungry.
There's a lot of teams that need him too.
And yep.
So I just don't want to see him chase the money and never win again. That's my fear for him. He'll chase the money and go to, I don't know, the Giants, Cleveland Browns, something, and never make the playoffs. He's in a good system right now with the Giants. They're probably one of the best.
Oh yeah, with the 49ers. I mean, that system, you can run the ball anywhere. He's going to go get paid. I think they're not because they say, hey, you got to match this, or you're going to
tell you right now, the Saints need somebody.
Yeah,
Kamara's going downhill. I mean, his value is going down.
Kendrick Miller. They're going to have to draft. They're going to have to draft.
Yeah, Kendrick Miller's not the guy.
No.
I think the Chiefs need somebody. I mean, let's go on. I mean,
honestly,
everybody does. Yeah. Almost everybody. More than half the teams in the league need somebody.
Yeah, they want a player who can average 5.2 yards per carry.
He's doing good.
Yep. Who do you got?
All right, so at number 23, I got Chase Brown. Chase Brown last year, he played 16 games. Of course, he began the season as the backup for Zach Moss, of course. And we all had really good, high hopes and stuff for Zach Moss. But of course, he got injured, and Brown took full advantage of that. In October, Moss landed up on injured reserve, and he ended up in the backfield. He played 16 games. He had 229 attempts at rushing. He had 990 rushing yards. That's 4.3 yards per carry. He got 7 touchdowns. And I'm going to tell you something. That Bengals team came on fire when Brown took over the backfield. It kind of freed up a little bit for some of the wide receivers. He had 54 receptions for 360 receiving yards and 4 receiving touchdowns. And he only fumbled the ball one time. The whole season.
It was a bad one, but one time.
Yeah, but if you look at the numbers, out of 16 games, he had 1 fumble. That's not bad.
No. So, out of everybody on that team who suffered because their defense was so bad, Chase Brown was the number 1 sufferer. This guy would have had 1,200 yards if they weren't playing catch-up.
He put in a lot of work. If Joe Burrow wasn't having to throw 5 touchdowns a game, this guy would have worked. This guy would have done it.
I think the story of the Cincinnati Bengals year was horrible offensive line, horrible defensive line, right? Except for Trey Hendrickson, and he came on. He took that job. What was amazing about it was the 54 receptions.
Yeah.
And if Zach Moss, he's took this job over, right?
No doubt.
Chase Brown take this job over, and they got Khalil Herbert got traded, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, no effect. Didn't even see the ball. Didn't even see the field.
No. Nope.
And
I thought, I truly believe that they drafted him hoping that he would come on like he did about 3 years ago for a little bit. But no, he doesn't have it. And Chase Brown he didn't let it go. He didn't let that number 1 spot go.
This was an RB2 flex play all year, and he had 6 games over 100 yards.
Yeah.
And in those 2 of them, he had more than 1 touchdown. Mm-hmm. It always felt like when you watch this game, you knew he was going to either rush one or catch one.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
All of us have that one guy who we wish we wouldn't have doubted.
And Chase
Brown was mine.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I know Chad didn't.
He didn't.
Chad was chasing him all year long.
Yeah, because remember I said Zach Moss was the better blocker for a quarterback with a bad offensive line than Chase Brown. He still may be, but Chase Brown's 100% the better running back.
That's it.
Yeah, when you catch the ball, right, and Joe Burrow is your quarterback, that's the one you want out there.
Absolutely.
And he showed he can take it. He can take it to the house.
Yeah. When they played Vegas, he got 120 yards on 27 attempts. And he got 37 receiving yards. That's probably his best game for the year. They won 41-24.
Wow.
Hey, when you score 9 touchdowns in a league in a year, you're fantasy relevant, right?
Oh yeah, he's a top 5, top 7 running back next year.
Yeah,
easy.
I'm gonna pick him up, and if he's there in the 3rd round, I'm scooping him up immediately.
You definitely don't see him trading him or trying to get somebody to replace him.
No.
Just an amazing season by him.
Next guy, my biggest failure of the year. I went heavy. I went heavy on Breece Hall. And I ended up having to put Tyrone Tracy in there in every one of the things I had. So 16 games, okay? 209 attempts, 876 yards, 4.2 yards per carry. It just doesn't seem – it seems like he should have had way more. 5 rushing touchdowns, 57 receptions, 483 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns, and he fumbled the ball 2 times, which I don't think he fumbled the ball at all last year. This guy is something. He was better with 2 supposedly worse quarterbacks. He was better with subpar quarterback plays, according to Aaron Rodgers, supposed to be elite. He's not elite. He actually ruined Breece Hall, and he ruined some other players on the offense there. This wasn't his breakout season. He would have done better under Tyrod Taylor, I think, if they would have just gave up on Aaron Rodgers earlier and set Tyrod Taylor back there. The consistency wasn't there for Breece Hall, but that was 100% based on the offense. Oh, bless you.
Still got the flu.
Yeah, we apologize. We're all getting sick. We're all getting sick, and we're powering through for you.
Yeah. So I'm Breece Hall still gonna, depending on what they do with the quarterback next year, he's still gonna be. He's too talented to look past in the top 10 running backs. I don't know what your thoughts on it are.
My thoughts are that the Jets were going all in for a Super Bowl. They were going all in for a Super Bowl. They were struggling early. They got rid of Saleh. They got rid of the offensive coordinator. The Hackett. Then they got rid of him. And what happened was all their problems came in the fact that they went and got 2 aging veterans to play tackle, and they were done.
Yep.
And they were done. And you had an aging team that was getting beat. You had not an aging team, excuse me. You had 2 aging tackles. You had an aging quarterback, and they were getting beat up. And they were playing from behind, and Breece Hall could never get going. He was 3 years ago. He had a serious knee injury. He came back and he played. So he can play. Next year, you better pick him up. They have got to get those tackle positions solidified for him to get back on track. This guy is an elite talent, but they went all in, and Woody Johnson thought, I spent all this money. I can't be embarrassed. I got to make drastic changes. And
they were embarrassed.
It was just tumultuous. Nobody can do any good in any kind of organization that was as tumultuous as that was in the first 5 or 6 games.
I'm gonna be honest with you, right? So this reminds me of something that happens very often in the NFL. Is you get a team with so many really good players, but they just can't gel.
It's usually
the Browns,
usually the quarterback.
The Browns, remember the Browns? Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, Nick Chubb. They had everybody, and you were like, "This is the guy." Last year, you had C.J. Stroud, Stephon Diggs. That team, again, was a terrible team to the Texans, and this is it right here. You got Breece Hall, you got Allen, you got Devontae Adams, you got Garrett, you got Aaron Rodgers, who all performed differently, better on another team. Put them together, couldn't make it happen.
Couldn't.
It was
Alan Lazard. I mean, they had it all.
And they went handpicked who he wanted. Their quarterback wanted. Nathaniel Hackett had his offensive coordinator that he wanted. They went all in. Hey, you went on in. You put that pressure on yourself, and y'all buckled. And I think that's what happens to teams sometimes. This is it. Like, you go out. Like, I picked them to win the Super Bowl, and on paper, that team is so talented.
Right.
Quentin Williams. You got Sauce Gardner on the outside. The defensive line would be a reason for Aaron Glenn so lucky just to get that job for that defensive line with all the talent on it. And
the previous coaches, they were name shopping rather than going for the younger talent. They went Aaron Rodgers. They went with both those way too old tackles.
Yeah,
I mean,
what they did with Zach Wilson, and I don't blame them for thinking, hey, if we get if we get a top 15 quarterback, we should be able to win 11 or 12 games without talent.
Right.
But they got the wrong pieces, and the stress of going and winning a Super Bowl buckled, and they were done. They were done out, and that affects everybody. But going forward, Breece Hall is going to have a way better. I project him just to go back on track. I think he'll be a top 5 running back next year.
I think it went down when they got rid of Saleh. He was a player favorite.
He was a defensive mind, hard nosed player. So he believed in running the ball. He believed,
right, and when you go away from someone like Saleh, it affects the locker room.
Yeah.
So Aaron Rodgers hates motion. As you can go back and look at all the games. He does not like motion. Saleh loved motion. That's why he wasn't there no more.
Well,
All right. Who's at our number 21 spot?
number 21, DeAndre Swift. This poor guy.
Not as poor as your number one pick for the year.
No, but DeAndre Swift was the picture of inconsistency this year. He
Absolutely.
statistically, he played every game, right? Started every game. 253 attempts. Hey, almost got 1,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
The 3.8 average per carry was terrible. But I can't put it all on him. That offensive line was porous. Okay. Caleb Williams was a rookie. They had weapons on the outside. You knew they wanted to throw the ball. Hey, offensive coordinator got fired. Coach got fired.
Mm-hmm.
It was a hot mess. And through it all, this guy still come out. Those first 3 weeks were the worst running back play I think I've ever seen in 3 weeks in a row. It was bad. Now 4 through 7, he picked it up. He was going 4 yards per carry, and if he could have kept that, he would have had 1,000 yards. Okay, but during that, they thought they were winning. It was 5-2. It was all working, and then it all went crashing down. The whole team went crashing down. Everything. But you know what you're going to get from him. I mean, DeAndre Swift, no matter where he's gone, he's been able to run the ball. But more importantly, he catches the ball. He's got some soft hands.
Yes.
He's got soft hands. He had 42 receptions for 386 yards. No touchdowns. How they did not get him involved in the run game. In the red zone. Yep. Is insane to me. And I would get mad. And whenever they traded Khalil Haber, I was like, okay, look, they're going to get him involved. Because that was his game. Hey, he's a receiving back, he's a scat back, third down back. They have DeAndre Swift. Hey, everywhere he's going to caught the ball. I was like, I like this. Mm-hmm. And then later on in the year, they put Roschon Johnson in. Yeah. And I'm like...
And then they're running him up. They're running DeAndre Swift up the middle, when he's an edge runner.
If you're going to... And I think that right there is telling for what was going on with this team. And they're going to be better. They got what's his name? Ben Johnson from Detroit.
Yep.
Okay. He used... Jahmyr Gibbs and Dave Montgomery.
Brilliant.
The best you can use anybody, right? Okay? He understands you're going to have to fix that offensive line. He loves Caleb Williams. I like Caleb Williams going forward. I love those outside weapons. Mm-hmm. What I think is going to happen is I think he's going to get DeAndre Swift in a poor man Jahmyr Gibbs role.
I would love it.
I would. I mean, this is what the man knows. This is what the man schemes to.
And it wins.
With a strong defense and still a offense that's being built, they're gonna have to manage the clock. How else are you gonna manage the clock without DeAndre Swift managing the clock for you? He's very important to them next year.
And he's short-handed. The man doesn't fumble.
He doesn't fumble, and he catches everything.
He's running into a wall.
17 games. 0 fumbles.
Yeah, he doesn't fumble.
0 fumbles.
Yep. His hands are soft.
42 receptions.
Runs great routes.
Just running the right way.
253 attempps. Didn't fumble one time.
You're going to run him up the middle on one of the worst offensive lines in the league. I just don't understand it. Let him use his speed. Get around the edge.
And you had a hammer. You had a hammer. Roschon Johnson.
He's a hammer.
You have a hammer.
Yeah, let him do that.
Let him do that. Mm-hmm. You get him out in screens. You get him in choice routes. You get him in motion. You get him in wheel routes. He can outrun people. He has soft hands. I
would love to see the Bears be one of the first teams to do a 2 running back set.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean
that'd be great.
Put them both in.
Put them both in.
And Ben John. That's what he did. He built a whole offense around Amon-Ra St. Brown. He had a great tight end. He had 2 good running backs. And Chicago feels kind of like they got that poor man thing going on with the weapons they had. They got Cole Kmet. They got DeAndre Swift. They got Roschon Johnson. If they shore off that offensive line and a very young, talented quarterback, he could easily jump into the top 15 fantasy running backs next year.
If the Bears go and get them a big blocking tight end, they're good.
They have to build that.
They got to build it.
Yep. That's all I got. I mean, he should have had a better year.
Oh, yeah.
Number 20.
Number 20.
Man, David Montgomery. come off of one of the most explosive offenses this year. Even after he got injured and put on injured reserve for a little bit, he still came back for the playoffs. He played 14 games. He had 185 attempts, 775 rushing yards. It's about average about 4.2% per carry. He had 12 rushing touchdowns, 36 receptions, 341 receiving yards, and he only had one fumble. Man, he was something to watch this year. It was just the speed and lightning type combo. Mm-hmm. You know, he was the thunder that came through. He was like you were talking about. You know, he was the Roshan Johnson.
Shoot, man, this guy
for this team. Jahmyr Gibbs was out on the sides, running down the sideline, and as soon as they got about 10 yards in, it was a David Montgomery show.
I'm hoping Ben Johnson brings that to Chicago.
And you know what's crazy is he came from Chicago, where he was suffering.
Yeah.
And they were running him, like you were saying, they were running DeAndre Swift. And then he got on this team, and he has flourished.
When he got hurt, it was like a personal friend of mine got hurt. I like this dude, so I respect him so much as a football player. When he got hurt, it really hurt me.
Yeah.
You know, David Montgomery is the epitome of an NFL running back.
Yeah. No, he's great, man. And, you see a lot of these guys, they get on these teams, and they suffer because, like I said, they're on Chicago. They suffer all this time, and they get their game, their spirit gets demolished. It's great to see them get traded to a team where they can flourish and enjoy themselves.
Right.
You brought up David Montgomery coming from Chicago. DeAndre Swift came from Detroit.
Yep.
And what he did, what I thought his strength was catching the ball at the backfield. But they traded Jahmyr Gibbs, which was a smart move because he is better. But what I loved about David Montgomery this year, second in rushing touchdowns. He still got over 1,000 all-purpose yards, rushing and receiving. Only one fumble. Was injured, right? Came back because he missed 3 games. If he does not miss those games, he's a chance that he is up there with James Cook in touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
so if you look at the average, he played 14 games with 12 rushing touchdowns. There's a likelihood he ends with 15 or 16.
Yeah.
And he could, if he scores a touchdown, those games, he's at 17 too.
Cook is right there.
I mean, it's amazing, and it's so much fun. Like watching that line push back in the red zone and how creative they got. And this is just what they did whenever they weren't doing all this chicanery and trickery with getting their offensive line and catching the ball in the red zone and all that.
I'm a fan of hard-nosed football. I'm not a fan of all that trickery.
Campbell's going to let his players have fun.
Yeah. Man, I'm going to tell you. But I enjoyed so much. I know there's a lot of people's feelings involved. I enjoyed so much watching Dan Campbell say, you know what? We may be beating them 30-0. We're going to beat them 50-0.
We're going to put our foot on their neck. And they did, and it was fun to see. And
then these guys got to do what they wanted to do.
Yeah, it's him running the ball behind that offensive line. The only word for it is just they're a force.
Yeah,
they are a juggernaut.
And that's 12 rushing touchdowns, and they still have another running back. He's not even
the top guy. Yeah, he's not the main guy. And I think they're going to miss Ben Johnson next year. I'm not going to lie.
I'm afraid with Ben Johnson leaving that David Montgomery's 1 year away from leaving Detroit.
No, 2.
We're going to see what happens.
We'll see.
I mean, it's way too early in the season.
We'll see.
At number 19, who do we have, Joe?
Rico Dowdle. How many of you guys are sitting here today doubted Rico Dowdle when I said that he was a guy to pick up? I think you agreed with me.
I did because I was just who else they got?
They ain't got nobody.
Zeke was done. Zeke was over.
I picked him up. He did good things for me. In 16 games, he had 235 attempts for this guy.
Yeah, he was.
And 1,079 rushing yards, 4.6 yards per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns, which is insane with that kind of yardage. 39 receptions, 249 yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. His problem was he fumbled the ball twice. He showed that he can carry the load. He can absolutely carry. He's a smaller guy, but he can carry the load.
Yeah,
he did it. And I think they don't need to be looking at running. They're going to. That's just the way the Cowboys are. They have other things they need to look at. But I mean, he down the stretch, he had 100-yard performances. Like it seemed like weekly almost. You know, so he was great, and I picked him up about, I think it was about early mid season because I had so many issues, and he helped me come in second place in the league. So
it seemed like Rico Dowdle was getting all-purpose yards almost every game. Like I think it was 6 games he had over 100 all-purpose yards. 4 games he had over 100 rushing yards. What I think there is one thing that when we're talking about all these guys, okay, it's up for the Bengals because that's just offensive line and terrible defense. There's a theme. It was the disorganization within the whole franchise. This is no different, right? Jerry Jones, and it comes out, they really wanted to go get King Henry, right? He said, I can't afford him. Rico Dowdle, look at what he did. Dak Prescott, your quarterback got hurt, okay? He's not the only quarterback yet. Aaron Rodgers struggling.
He couldn't afford Derrick Henry, but he wanted Rico Dowdle to run like Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and you ain't going to get that. But he had a good year.
Yeah.
But if these teams can get organized, these are good pieces to build around.
Right.
And Rico Dowdle's young. You went and got Zeke. I don't know why you went and got Zeke. I don't understand that.
I don't know.
I don't understand. You could have went and got way other players out there. And
it was one of those family things, I'm sure, because Zeke started there. They had bad blood when he left. They were like, let's try it again.
Try to be friends.
Sometimes
y'all remember Week 17 against the Eagles? Week 17 against the Eagles, Rico Dowdle ran for 104 yards and a touchdown. That's probably the best, if not the second best defense in the league.
Yeah,
and he handled them.
They did great.
So I mean, he had what 4 or 5 100-yard games. One of them was 149 yards.
And I think Dallas is gonna. This is a move. I think Jerry Jones is gonna regret getting rid of Mike McCarthy because that offensive line was young. You lost your quarterback, and down the stretch, he turned that team into a 7-win team somehow.
Right. Yeah, you need a name.
With Cooper Rush, your CeeDee Lamb's out there playing on one shoulder.
He does that every year.
I mean,
he makes, like, when you really think the Cowboys are sucking, for some reason, every year other than last year, they ended up in the playoffs.
I mean, he won more regular season games than any other coach in 4 years. You fire the guy.
Yep. And
what he did was miraculous. Micah Parsons, halfway through the year, looked distracted.
He's asking for a trade now.
Yeah, and it's dysfunction, right? It's dysfunction.
Yep.
You had this man who knows more about this dude coached Steve Young, Joe Montana. Like, collectively, this dude has put quarterbacks in the hall. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. Hey, we're firing. Let's just fire him. But they didn't fire him. They didn't sign. He didn't re-sign his contract. And what he did with this team for 7 wins with this team, no quarterback, Cooper Rush back there. Then they took him out. They threw the Lance in there. You got this guy's the only thing making them go.
Hardly any receiver.
CeeDee Lamb, yeah.
You got CeeDee Lamb quadruple covered,
yeah, with a torn AC joint playing out there. You got Brandon, 500 years old Cooks running one go route. You got a decent rookie coming on, and this is a shame. Brian Schottenheimer,
he's not half the guy.
I don't think so either.
They're going to be sorry. They will be sorry for this.
Yeah, this is why I don't have much faith going into next year with Rico Dowdle.
Oh, without a doubt. The Cowboys, period.
Yeah. That's where I stand on this. A talented team, a talented player that's probably going to get wasted next year, in my opinion.
I think the Cowboys are going to go for a big name in the draft like Gene T or something like that. Well, Rico Dowdle will be wasted.
Yeah. Well,
number 18.
The Enigma himself, Najee Harris, the Enigma. I watch Najee every Sunday, and it doesn't seem like he's doing much. It does not seem like he's doing much. And then in the fourth quarter, statistically, all of a sudden, dude's like got over 75 yards rushing or 85 yards rushing.
Yep.
And I constantly want to see Jaylen Warren take over this job because he looks more explosive. He can catch the ball better. But I say this, but he's 18th ranked on a good team Hey, 4 years in a row, he's eclipsed 1,000 yards. It's only happened 15 times in the NFL. So I sit here every year. I'm not drafting Najee Harris. I know what I'm not. I'm not drafting Najee Harris. And every year, I'm like, dude got 1,000 yards.
Should have drafted Najee Harris.
Dude,
I do the same thing.
he's consistent. He's just picture consistent.
That or when you're drafting and you're scratching names off, and then Najee's just sitting there waiting for you to pick him, and everybody's the same way. I'm not picking that guy. I'm not picking that guy. Now you have hardly anybody where you're like, I gotta pick him.
It's just, yeah. It's like you got to go pick either
Ramondre Stevenson or Najee Harris.
Yeah. Or you got like a rookie coming out that you're like, I don't know. You always take the risk on the rookie.
Do I take the number one or the rookie?
Yeah. Right. Oh, I'm taking the rookie because I know what I'm going to get out of him. And something that we don't talk about enough with Najee, and I think a lot of the problem has been the quarterback play in Pittsburgh, is that he can like when we get so fantasized on like how explosive Jaylen Warren is in the passing game, but Najee Harris catches the ball too.
He does.
He doesn't fumble.
Does not fumble.
He doesn't fumble. Mm-mm.
There's not a whole lot you can say bad about him. It's just that a lot of people say he hasn't reached his full potential yet. If Mike Tomlin can't get the full potential out of you, you're not trying to show your full
Something's
potential.
Wrong.
You're not trying to show it. So maybe he's a lazy player. Maybe people see that. He's shooting for just 1,000. That's all he wants. Maybe that's the guy. Maybe that's the guy you got.
I don't know. Look.
There's a reason why every year we shy away from drafting him. We've been doing this for years and years.
Him and Ramondre.
Yeah.
Both of them, you're like, no.
I would rather have Ramondre than Najee.
See, I say that, but as I covered him this year, and Jaylen Warren was hurt, the Steelers ran behind him.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, look, I can't say anything bad about someone who's going to play he's going to play 17 games. Hey, you don't have to go to the waiver wire if you got Najee Harris, right?
Right, you do not.
You're going to get 1,000 yards. You're going to get an extra 200, 300 yards catching the ball. You're going to get 6, 7, 8 touchdowns. Hey, I'll put that RB2 flex all day long.
Doing this podcast and us deep diving in these players has showed me some things. Najee Harris is worth more than I thought he was worth.
Than I ever thought he was worth. And I have to eat that.
I mean, Ramondre's listed as number 26. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's fumbled 3 times.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so Najee doesn't fumble. He doesn't cost you a game.
He plays all the games.
Right.
He does play all the games.
Yeah, so I mean, going forward, like if
he may not be there next year. He may not be there.
As a matter of fact, I think he's going to be better next year than he was this year.
He hits free agency this March, so depending on where he goes, I don't think Pittsburgh's going to bring him back.
You don't think he is? You don't think now they're talking maybe an extension right now? They're talking maybe.
Okay. Well, it's going to be a contract issue.
Yeah,
because he's going to want to get paid.
He's going to want more money. It just came out. Earlier this week? They're talking about negotiating with him.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Now they didn't give him a 5-year option.
There are a few players out there who should do their whole career somewhere. Najee Harris's name on the back of that jersey looks normal for Pittsburgh. It's something that you see Harris's name.
Harris, yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Would Harris look okay on a Raiders jersey?
No.
They need anybody over there that they can get.
Right. No, and
they need a running back.
And he fits them. Like he's not going to break away big runs, right? He's not breaking away big runs.
No,
but he is going to give you that 4 yards per carry.
I actually watched him a lot because I remember last year before, he would go down at first contact. He didn't do that this year. He ran through tackles this year, so maybe
he wanted that money.
Yeah. All right, who's next?
Number 17, Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, he played 16 games this year, 260 attempts. He had 1,079 rushing yards. He quietly made those, by the way. It was his 3rd consecutive campaign in the NFL. First time on the Tennessee Titans. He got 4.2 yards per carry. He rushed for 5 touchdowns. He received the ball 41 times. He got 238 receiving yards. No touchdowns, and he fumbled twice.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue here was him and Spears, Tajay Spears. If you're sharing a backfield, it's like clones. Mm-hmm. They were the
exact same runner.
Same exact runner. And so I don't think their running game had a lot of depth. And I think that's what also kind of hindered Tony Pollard or Tajay was because they didn't have another element to their running game, their backfield. It was kind of basically the same player every time. So it was just more of a break contest, who can take a breather.
Yeah,
and then they both kind of got hurt throughout the season, on and off, on and off, on and off.
Not just because we're in Louisiana, or not just because we love Tajay Spears. To me, he's the better runner of the ball than Tony Pollard.
Yeah, he just didn't have the front runner. He didn't have the number one spot.
He don't have the chops for it yet.
But if you look at it, when Tony was out, he picked up the slack, and he got just as much as far as, I think he probably ended up with 4.4 yards per carry.
Tony Pollard's numbers are nothing to sneeze at, though. Those are pretty good. Those are pretty good run-of-the-mill average numbers,
Yep. He started off with the Cowboys, and he was running behind Zeke, and he showed out.
Right.
He showed out, and that fire is what kept him going so far as a number one. But it didn't. Where did it go?
I don't think he's a guy who can carry the ball numerous 25 times a game. He's a 12 to 15 time carrying the ball a game.
The problem. Well, they were Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard were constantly banged up. Right?
Yep,
so they were constantly banged up.
They were flip-flopping the whole season.
Who wouldn't be with that offensive line? I was watching Will Levis throw interceptions. I saw Will Levis getting killed back there. They were swapping quarterbacks. You didn't know who. Rudolph, Levis, Rudolph. Callahan, first year there, he's just looking for something to grasp a hold of.
There's nothing there.
No, they traded DeAndre Hopkins. Why? They have
Derrick Henry. So the thing is, this team has leaned on Derrick Henry for so long.
They thought he was over with. They thought he was done.
Yeah, they thought he was done, and they didn't have that same element no more, and that's what they depended on to make wins.
Poor Will Levis. They never gave this guy a fighting chance.
What I did like was I thought. If you just watched, I watched some of the Titans games. I watch all the games. Okay.
Do you watch all the games?
Every one of them, unfortunately. Even the Thursday night debacles and monstrosities.
The overseas games that are fantastic.
Those are terrible.
He looked like he was lost when he first started coaching. Brian like this, and his dad helped him. His dad, Bill Callahan, who brought the Raiders to the Super Bowl, so he has some experience in the building. But he looked lost. Now, later on in the year, all right, they started getting some footing. They started getting a little traction. And you started seeing Ekine come on. Westbrook Ekine come on. You started seeing a little bit more life in their passing game. Like we started talking about Calvin Ridley, remember?
Yep.
All of a sudden, okay, wait a second.
Tony Pollard, once the receiver started taking off, Tony Pollard's name started showing up.
Yep. It was just, what can the offensive line do from week to week?
Nothing.
Because I saw some games where it was 6 sacks in the first half and stuff like that, and you've got to fix that. So Brian Callahan, his first year, I give him an incomplete. Okay. Now, Tony Pollard did great. Tajay Spears and him are almost identically the same back. They play the same way.
Right.
Yep.
They're going to have to, this is the draft to go up and get somebody. And I don't think you're going to get this from them next year. I think they're going to have a running back by committee, maybe a 3-head group. I thought later on in the season when you saw 14, 15, 16, 17, when Tajay Spears come back and he was completely healthy, you saw him catching the ball. I think I went and picked him up on the waiver wire because he scored 2 touchdowns in a game.
So you're thinking DeAndre Swift, Gainwell, and Boston.
Maybe something like that.
And with the Eagles, when Boston, Gainwell, and Swift were running.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a...
It works.
Yeah, they're going to... And this
It really depends, though. This draft.
Draft is so deep.
Man,
Tennessee needs so much.
If you can't get a running back with this draft, you are not trying.
I agree completely. It's so deep right now. So the Brian Callahan, I think, learned a lot in that first year. His dad...
Growing pains.
Yep, growing pains. But a young team, they showed some promise. They showed some fight. I don't see... I just don't see it. I don't see him doing this again next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Number 16.
Boy. J.K. Dobbins. Yeah, J.K. Dobbins, 13 games he only played. He stayed hurt a little bit. 195 attempts, 905 yards rushing, 4.6 yards per carry. The guy, he carried the ball over the average yards per carry. 9 rushing touchdowns, 32 receptions, 153 yards, 0 receiving touchdowns. J.K. never fumbles the ball. That was his mainstay anyway. He reached his personal best in rushing touchdowns. When he was with Baltimore, he did it. He matched it over here. J.K. is just not the guy you can count on injury-wise. When he's not injured, the guy is one of the top running backs in the league, but he stays injured all the time.
Yep.
So what do you do?
Well, I tell you what, at the beginning of the season, he was the life of the team.
Yeah, Gus Bus was nothing. It's just.
But like you said, every season the boy gets hurt.
Every season,
Boy gets hurt.
every season. I like J.K. Dobbins. He's just one of those guys you just can't. You
Depend
can't
on
trust
him.
him.
Yeah, you can't depend on
You
him.
can't depend on him. So you got to have someone strong back there, not Gus Bus, not I don't know what they do in the offseason. They got to bring somebody in the room who's very strong, a very strong backup. A hammer, not someone who catches the ball out, but they need a hammer over there.
Yeah.
Well, I guarantee you they're going to do it. I mean, that's Harbaugh and that's Greg Roman. They're going to go find somebody.
And they play hard-nosed football.
Yeah, I think Gus Bus is done, bro.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, man. I always liked that guy, man.
Well, I liked them both. I mean, remember when they were both in Baltimore? They both tore their ACLs. And it was just a mash unit then. I just, like you said, and what if he played those other 4 games, what statistically, what
Yeah,
he have
we're
done?
looking at 1,300 yards.
Yeah. I bet he has 50 catches.
Yeah.
50 receptions. I mean,
10 touchdowns. Who knows?
because at the end of that year, Herbert.
Which really makes him a really good running back.
Yep. He's,
Like as far as for the season.
yeah.
I mean, just think about it. I mean, he was hurt, and he's still up
But
there.
even when he started with Baltimore, and then every single year he got hurt, he came back the next season. Even here, at first, like I said, he was the life of the team at the beginning of the season. I thought maybe this was the year that he doesn't end up on injured reserve, but it was wrong.
Yeah, he got hurt. Look, the only thing is I like about him is he's still young.
Yes.
Okay, he's still young.
5 years in.
5 years in, he ain't got a lot of tear because he's been injured.
Right.
Get those ACLs right, get everything right, and you got a chance. Because if he gets a couple of years where he's not injured, he is a top 10 running back.
He also, on a strong team with a good offensive line, he gives up on you sometimes. He had 5 games where he had below 50 yards in the entire game.
I think that was just a lot of scheme too. When I watched football this year, I was always high on Herbert. And this year I don't know if it was Greg Roman. I know he went through those like 6 or 7 games where he was throwing 300 yards and
It was hit or miss.
he was so hit or miss.
When he was running, he was great. When he tried to stay in the pocket, he didn't do so great.
Yeah, it was, and I know he didn't have the weapons. He did a couple of years with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and them. Like he did turn, what he had into weapons.
That's it.
But McConkey became a thing, right?
Yep.
Lad McConkey became a thing.
That poor
goodness.
little thing.
Yeah, but we saw where Herbert would go in bouts of just making bad decisions, and
That's what kills a team.
yeah, and I thought I root for J.K. Dobbins. Like I picked him up one time on the waiver wire, and he won me a league. Okay, in Baltimore, and I watched whenever a player does that for you, you like to start paying attention to him during the year. Like you're like, oh my god, dude, I got to pick up this dude. Like you can't wait to see what he does next. And then that next year in Baltimore, he tore his ACL, and that made me root for him more when he came back.
Yeah,
and I thought, okay, he's got to change the scenery. This is going to work. Greg Roman, Harbaugh, one thing's for sure, he's going to get all the chances in the world, and he did. Just stay healthy one season, and let's see you be a top 10 running back.
So he was your James Conner for me.
Yeah.
I look for James Conner every year, no matter what.
Steady,
no matter
steady.
what.
Yeah, he is my the hot ugly girl. He's like my fantasy hot ugly girl where I'm like, I don't like her.
Yeah, but you really do.
Yeah, of course. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, this year he actually helped me out a lot. In the last 2 games, I picked him up off waivers, and I dropped Breece Hall.
That's smart
I
move.
played him. Breece Hall was my first pick in the league. I played him, and this was a standard league I won. He got a touchdown in the last 2 games.
Right.
And that's all that mattered for me, and he worked.
How many times did you pull that finger back to hit that button?
I wanted Breece Hall so
Man.
bad, but you know what? Breece Hall failed me so much this year. I couldn't.
I see Breece Hall as big of a beast as he is. I won't draft him next year because he bit me so bad this year.
Yep.
That's just the way
He's your running back, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, he's my Lamar Jackson.
Heard you.
Number 15.
That's it, guys.
This is
till next
winner.
next part 2.
Part 2. What you gonna do?
So hey, stay tuned because the next guy at number 15 is my league winner. I love this guy. I love him.
And we're going to go over it. But, guys, this is where homework starts, right? If you want to win your 2025 Fantasy Football League, homework starts today. The deeper you dive, the more you realize who you missed out on last year, where they stood, where they ended up at the end of the season. It's going to go a long way to help you win those leagues going forward. And we're going to be here to help you get to those points.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, guys. We're gonna put out information. We're gonna put out our draft kits, our draft boards.
We're not gonna let you fail.
We're gonna have everything. And the thing is, it's not gonna be the same. It's gonna be yours, and mine.
Yeah.
Because I draft different than they do.
That's right.
I go running back. He goes best player available, and I think you go best player available.
It depends. Depends on what league.
Yeah, running back without fail. For me.
I like to go running back. That's my favorite way to play. A lot of times I get in a draft position where I got to play best player available.
But then again, I don't draft a running back or a defense. I put in a Tyrone Tracy or a Chuba Hubbard. That's what I did this year,
and it worked out.
So.
There we go.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, I'm Nick Tate.
Joe Caldera.
I'm the Chatterwack.
And we're out.
SmashMouth Footballers.
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clown, fame, mud, disease, and plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on. This is